Cool. So we're live. Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to have my friend Tasha Choi with me today, zooming in across the globe from London. A funny story of how we met. A common friend of ours introduced us via Facebook Messenger a while back. He said that my straightforwardness reminded him of someone that I should probably meet. And that happened after I told him that he didn't deserve any of his many citizenships. um, and anyway, we clicked right away over Korean and Canadian and American ties and met up in London. Tasha is a nomad, having lived in at least 4 countries that I know of, and an entrepreneur, having founded startups in San Francisco and London. I am so fascinated by Tasha's story of always looking forward, not being afraid to fail, getting back after falls, and having this immense presence around her. I've got a lot to learn, and I hope this conversation inspires you too. So welcome, Tasha.
Hello, everybody. Thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to this amazing blog channel that you have just started. That I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, so I'm excited to share my story, and let's do this.
Let's do this. Thank you so much for being here. So let's go. My first kind of burning question is just to, I'm asking to tell us a little bit more about your most recent startup. What is it that you do? What are you working on right now?
Yeah, so I have started Highre, which is the new generation virtual career fair platform for universities. So what I see is there's a huge gap between industry and the university career education. We always say, researchers say that like 80% of jobs that's going to be around in 2035 or something hasn't even been created yet. But it seems like we're still looking at things from today's perspectives to prepare tomorrow's talent for tomorrow's economy, which doesn't make any sense. So there's a huge delay in career education, and I wanted to see how we can fix that. So I looked through, and there are different components, mainly 3 components, which is career fair, which is like a Beyonce of career education. Like it's showing, it's vivid, it's loud, there's lots of money, and there's career coaching and the career resources which are more like a supporting components of career services in most higher education institutions in the US and the UK. So career coaching and education, there are different ways to do it. There are a lot of contents already out there, but career fairs, it's still physical, and there's no way to track any key metrics or anything. So what we wanted to do is making it a lot smarter and lighter and accessible by using technologies and bringing it online. So that's
Awesome.
what we're doing. Yeah.
So maybe can you describe a little more specific as to what kind of technology is that? What
Right.
it's gonna help it with?
Yeah, so it is actually fairly simple. We're totally recreating the whole career fair experience online, by having one-on-one live meetings and also like resume drop-off feature and virtual career fair booth, so that employers don't have to travel all over the country and sometimes overseas to go recruit students on campuses, and students who are away or who are unable to attend can attend career fairs really easily from their devices. So it's to be honest, it's not the newest concept from the industry's point of view, but since universities are really behind technologically, they haven't been able to really catch up with how like this modern world is run on technology, and in a lot of cases schools are not even, they don't even, a lot of career offices don't even have cameras on their computer or mics on their, which is really surprising. So that's what we're doing. First step is trying to bring those very simple technologies to change the game and move things online, and the next thing that we're looking to build is more AI powered career education platform, so that everyone can get like personalized and customized career guidance through Highre. So
That's
really
awesome. Oh my God. So, and this career fair, I mean, how is it going to be all an event, a live event that everybody is joining in at the same time, or is it more asynchronous as to like whenever it works for someone, they can just talk to that person?
Right. So far the events that we have hosted, it's pretty much, it runs like physical career fair. So it's set during certain time, let's say 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then there are three major components. Of course, there are virtual booths set up by different companies, and recruiters have to be ready to meet students and schedule their available time window as if they're going to be standing in front of the physical booth and talk to students who lined up. We are enabling them to book the time slot, book the time windows, so that the little time slots students can choose and book in to talk to recruiters. And the other component is webinar speaker sessions. You should actually join, by the way. You should be a speaker. So we curate and bring in different speakers around really interesting topics for students that are very helpful for them, from say industry trend by a venture capitalist, and how to use SEO trick to write a smart resume, and what to do with student visa after, what am I going to do after student visa, those kind of stuff. So there are a bunch of different topics that we bring in. So it becomes like a real event that students can sign in anytime and browse around and talk to different recruiters if they can schedule it really well, and then also they can attend different speaker sessions. So it's not just like a bunch of different pages that students click through. It becomes like a live event that is actually very similar to physical career fairs, but everything is happening online. Everything is tracked and analyzed, and so that everyone can do better next time.
Oh, wow, that's so amazing. I mean, I can already see how my university could benefit from it. And we have so many international students there that we didn't have access to any of this.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So we talk to, summer is a high season, like a sales season for us, because universities prepare and plan for the next academic year now.
Yeah.
So we talk to a lot of universities and schools that we talk to. They want to use Highre for hosting different things. Obviously they want to expand their career fair without any space limit or cost budget restriction, and then also they want to engage remote employers, for example like Columbia University wanted to bring in a bunch of Silicon Valley companies that they weren't able to before, but virtually now they can. And they want to look into international. So there are so many international students nowadays, and they don't know what to do with it because visa has gotten really tough for both US and the UK. So they want to see if they can do international career fairs so that they can help out international students as well, and online career services for online degree students and all. Yeah.
Wow. And if I remember, you started just when we met sometime in March, like maybe a few weeks before that.
So yeah, I'm gonna sort of like give you the timeline as well. So last year I actually had to close my previous startup, which was a very, very painful process that we might want to revisit and talk more details about. After that, I look back, obviously, I worked hard for it, like for a while, and it was in the same space, university recruiting space, and I was working on job matching and searching rather than career education. But looking back, what I've learned is basically in the university recruiting space, like university graduates and students, for them, job searching and matching is more of a symptom. The root cause is career education, because a lot of people don't know about themselves, about the markets. Obviously, it's really hard to match that up because you don't know either. So that was more of the bigger problem underneath. So that's one thing that I learned. And second thing was I was able to build quite a bit of network and contacts with universities and employers and whatnot. So I had an opportunity to think through, talk about it. So over time, I thought through quite a bit, and then I came up with this idea, virtual career fair, because I remember all those complaints and stories from everybody, and then I quickly build the mock-up version of it. That was late November, and then I got in touch with Columbia University because I had a very good work relationship, and they introduced me to the new head of career services, and I basically wanted to get a feedback. I didn't really want to sell yet because I didn't have anything. So I got on a demo call for my mock-up, and there were 3 people on the call, and they really liked it. So by the end of the call, I don't think they quite understood what I meant by mock-up. Now looking back, I think that's what it was. But then they were like, we really like it. Like, we actually want to use it. We have a career fair, big one in 2.5 months, and we can totally do like an add-on or extension version virtually, and we will love it. Like, how much is it? So that was like early December. Mm-hmm. So I had to figure out. So I told them, like, I'll get back to you in like a couple of days, because I didn't have anything. So I tapped into my network, found grade 4 engineers based in Ukraine. And then also I figured I had to figure out pricing because I had no clue. So I got on a call with a few, software, event softwares, and went through the demo with them. They're really, quick enough to respond to me and go through the demo with me. So I got the price range like that. And then I came up with some sort of number. I knew I could push for like a very core feature. So I got back to them. And then I told them, I think we can deliver it. And then the deal was closed. So that was early December. So for the next 2.5 months, I had to build it. Like, it was every day I was like, oh my God, like,
this is insane. You are crazy.
It doesn't work. Like, I don't even know if it's enough time. But not only that, because the university, Columbia University, I mean, obviously it's an amazing school. Everyone knows, globally well-known top school. But for their major employer, like main employer relationships, it's based on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. So they don't have that many sort of contacts on the West Coast. Plus, a lot of these tech companies wouldn't really go fly over just for like stand there for like a few hours. Send recruiters all over. So they had a hard time engaging West Coast companies. So they asked me for help. So while I was going through that, recruiting all of those the companies, and also, what about webinars? I think it will be actually adding a good value. So I even pulled a few of my friends to be webinar speakers. So put together. So we launched in mid-February. And it happened, which is good. So they loved it. Now they want to do 4 more in the upcoming school year. So we're already working on the first one, which is going to be happening in late August. So that's kind of on the way already.
Wow, that's just like the fastest turnaround I've ever heard on a startup. You like closed the deal within the first month.
Yeah, close the deal before the product. That was like amazing.
And you didn't even need any funding or seeking seed funding or any of the angel investors.
So the first round, because it was super tight, like budget and super tight kind of timeline, we launched the very first version with core features. I couldn't really do anything fancy or even like even reasonably good at all. But it worked well. It looked decent for the first product. So yeah, we're really looking forward to the next event and then upcoming events. So yeah, it's exciting, and it's really good to have good university as a customer, because that opens up other conversations with other universities. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your typical day looking like these days? What do you do on a daily basis?
Right. So it has been for the summer after that, now I had to take that example, like use case, into a couple of major things. One was obviously sales, because it's very seasonal business. So universities sort of start looking to explore different options and start planning for the next year from like late April, May to the end of August, or even like early September. So now it's like go time for sales. So a lot of sending out mass emails and getting on the calls and talking to universities and following up. Um, it's a very different time scale though. For startup, it's like a few days, and a week or two is very big, but for universities, it's not. So that's, I gotta do just a lot, like really fast. So that's one thing. Sales is one thing. And actually, because now we're looking to expand features and product. So fundraising is another focus too. So it has been a lot of like building decks, refining, pitching to different funds or accelerators. Sometimes it's moving forward, sometimes no. It's kind of like basically, in a way, I think it's kind of like sales too. Basically, selling your idea to get money. So, your product to get money, same thing. So, doing a lot of calls, pitching, getting no's, getting back up again, making other calls, and getting sometimes yes, sometimes no. A lot of times no. Yeah, that's my day to day. And we recently hired the best dream intern. So yeah, she was rocking it. So we're also creating some of the career advice contents with for students. So we're interviewing around creating videos and audio contents for students.
That's crazy. It's amazing. I'm so inspired by your willingness to just continue, especially when you hear no over and over again, and that's sort of like your baby and you just get rejected. That's really tough, but I admire you just continuing on. I would like you to share if you remember any specific events or thoughts maybe, or something you've done just before this idea came to reality. And so what happened? Like, if you remember anything specific, actions or events that you that led you to this idea?
So I think it's more like a lifelong process in a way. So I grew up in South Korea. This girl, like, I definitely always knew that I was always up for something more, and bigger places, bigger market. And then growing up with that kind of passion and vision, and like a very ordinary family in South Korea, I was always frustrated by how I didn't have enough guidance, like, what kind of options are out there and career options are out there. So I still remember some of the, throughout my, youth, like critical points that I still vividly remember, how when I asked these questions, there weren't anyone really there to give me sort of the right answers. I mean, there's no right or wrong answers, but like rich enough answers to either inspire me to the next level or open the door or any of that. So that was always my frustration. And I managed to go to Canada for university, which was amazing. And that was, I really had a great time. It was my first time meeting like amazing people from all over the world. And as you know, Canada is really, really the most multicultural place on earth. And I really appreciated it until close to the graduation, where I realized all these like career fairs that I go, it seems like, just across the border, this place called United States, they had more like opportunities and like exciting opportunities. They wouldn't really, come here. So it seems like, it's always the usual banking, management, consulting, which I ended up doing for a little bit. But it wasn't, always seemed like there was a border between me and some of the opportunities. So that was my frustration for the whole time. Uh, Fast forward, when I worked for companies, because I was junior, like they kind of like, you do you know any sort of like intern, potential interns or junior levels that you can pull in. And then I realized that like hiring graduates and students is also, not really easy, because there is no good channel for that. Like it's always far away, difficult, like different path. So I knew that there was a gap. So that's why I started working on my previous company, startup, Tackl, which was about sort of job, career opportunity and student or graduate matching. So I worked on it for a while, and then a lot of things happened, including visa, and over time, I tried to run it remotely, and then there was also product market fit problem. But again, like I got to learn that there were different sort of like problems buried beneath this. So one was more a really core problem of this space is career education, and then a lot of universities don't have, I know for sure, because I've spoken to hundreds of students, universities, employers, they don't, budget is always a problem, and they're not the fast moving kind of space. So I kind of over time it built up into this idea. So I would say it was never for me like this eureka moment for me, but all these experience and even like trial and error or failure sort of led into this idea, and then here I am hustling all over again.
Yeah, I remember you telling me how traumatic it was to have to leave your first company and
Yeah, it
moving
was.
to a new country and starting all over again. So at that moment of frustration and anger, how do you overcome that, one, and two, still get inspired to do something new? Like
Yeah.
what did you do? What's your tips?
Right. So it was literally I mentioned to you, when we met, but it was really the hardest time in my life. And then it was, again, like it's almost embarrassing that I have never done that level of in-depth self introspection or sort of like self-study before that. So it was really hard because, I was really attached to California, and then that's where it started this like the whole startup and made a lot of my contacts and friendship, and I felt very home. A lot of things were kind of like coming together, but I had to leave for visa, and chose to come to the UK because for various reasons they have amazing visa for entrepreneurs, but also for our space, for university recruiting space. There are a lot of world-renowned universities packed in one small country, which is super rare, and it's like jackpot for us. It's like just go, we talk to everyone. So that's why, and the move, and it was really hard. Different market, people are different, and also having that failure, and then like not having the same vision and the picture that I had in my mind anymore was very, very tough. So yeah, like I still explain that sort of experience as I shattered into smallest pieces actually, and then in a way, because I was so shattered, I had to force myself to do something with it. If I was like semi fractured, I'll probably like fix it and just kept going with what probably wouldn't have worked. But because it was completely shattered, it was in a way, it's always retrospective. In a way, it was a great opportunity to really look into every component of what I want, what I had, what I've done, and then potentially I was lost. So I didn't know exactly what I want, but based on who I am, I wanted to figure that out. And it was quite a few month process. It was a very long process. So that's when I started getting into more of this like whole consciousness, meditation, this whole thing. Before that, I think it was early last year, 2017. I was trying to, because I was so stressed, as a tool to get de-stressed. I was asking some of my friends in San Francisco. Everyone does meditation in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's the West Coast thing.
Exactly. So what do you guys use? How do you guys do it? And then they gave me a couple of names for these apps. So I tried the very basic, but then I didn't quite sort of continue because I didn't get it. It was a good sort of, like a relaxing sort of few minutes, but I didn't really get it. I didn't know what that really meant. But during that time, I was devastated. So I need some sort of tool to really help me. Like whatever people say, it may help. Like I would try out, and that's when meditation. I actually started taking it seriously because I really needed something to get help from, and then also a bunch of journaling. I think the whole verbal vomit onto paper. It's quite a process of declaring your mind, as well as by sort of letting out what's messy in your mind. It gives the room to think more clearly, I think, and then eventually it helps you to I actually do have the collection of journal books. I see there are like 9 over the last, from I would say like June time, and then it over time journaling even became from vomiting to more like now like structuring to planning kind of format. So journaling was definitely the second important tool, and I actually started getting into those like self-motivation talks and videos on YouTube, which I used to think is super cheesy. Like, what is that? Like, who are those people who think they know life and tell other people what to do? But it was actually, when I actually needed some wisdom and advice, I even continue to listen to them every morning. Like I never missed once since for the last year. And then it's like a compact, like it's like almost like a canned, condensed wisdom of life. Depends on who you listen to, but I think those 3 were kind of top tools for me to go through those difficult times and get out of it.
I love it. I definitely believe in meditation. I do that every day. Otherwise, I would be like an explosive bomb or a ticking bomb, because I always react to things. And I think self-help or personal development motivational speakers are like, they played a huge role in my life as well. So I appreciate all of that. I did want to go a little bit more into what kind of meditation exactly it is, because a lot of people don't get it, as you said. Like I didn't get it in the beginning as well, because I can't just sit quiet in the room. That didn't work for me. So what were the techniques and certain different kinds of meditations that you tried, and maybe which ones worked for you, and if you could describe in more specific what they are?
So I literally had zero clue about what to do. So those apps that I tried initially, they were like a 10-minute trial sessions teaching you how to breathe and the very basic guidance, but it didn't really give me what it's supposed to do. It doesn't do any tricks in my mind or spiritual, I don't know, my spirit or anything yet. So I wanted more guidance, and then obviously now I'm a huge fan of YouTube because literally like whatever I need, they have contents, if not the actual answer. So I searched for guided meditation, and there are a few, there are quite a lot. It's like a massive library of guided meditation. So I started trying a few of them. I didn't know who's good, what's good, what not. So I obviously followed the numbers, and then I started with quite a few different topics, and I pretty much followed through those guided meditations. So again, it's hard for me to sit and not think, which was my assumption of meditation before I did meditation. Over time, those guided meditation, and in fact, listening to all those like self-motivation talk and successful people, sort of like a collection of their talks, they all meditate, and then I get to sort of like get some tips and advices through those like self-motivation talks, and learn that like meditation isn't about really quieting your mind. So I started with guided meditation, and then recently I started try more breathing, like pure breathing practice.
Like where you're trying to focus on how your breath is going, how deep or how slow it is.
And then having that as an anchor, sort of, I mean, of course, like my mind and thoughts, float around still, but having breathing as an anchor, let mind just fly around on its own. Sometimes I get like really good sort of, come out with some idea, come out with what to do. Sometimes feel better, or sometimes doesn't do much. So I started learning. I'm starting to learn how it's okay to be what it is. Well, it's just sort of like a let it be. That's what I'm learning. It's not always, especially with my own mind. I'm learning that that's the hardest thing to control. So it's okay to let it be, and it doesn't have to be hockey stick all the time. Like, progress does not have to be hockey stick all the time in every department of your life. So
yeah, that's amazing. I love what you said about how if you focus on your breathing, your mind, you just let your mind run through its own thing. Because a lot of people think that meditation is about not having any thoughts, right? It's what you're saying is that they're there and they just run through, and then all you do is you're still breathing.
So so it's quite cool. I'm starting to learn how. I'm also, by doing meditation, I'm getting more and more interested in how the mind works too. And I think we sometimes like our thinking and our thoughts depend heavily on our words and languages and vocabularies.
Yes.
Sometimes it's not there. There are thoughts that are not language based, which are pure insights. I think that's what people usually call gut and insight. Like it sort of, before you can even translate it into words, it's already processed, kind of like credit card process. There's so many things, like data is like coming back and forth, like all gathered, and they're already verified, and then like within like milliseconds, like the process is over. Something like that. I think we have so much data, like data information in our brain, stories and experience, all of that. Like it's always working and talking to each other, and then it's really hard to sort of verbally or language, like in language, like we can't translate that, but then it's already processed, and it comes into like formed thinking or thoughts, and that's probably what we call. So that's what I'm learning, like actually recently learning within the last like few weeks. So
this is fascinating. I remember thinking how before you even know how to say stuff, there's this like ball, this idea, this intention, and then you're just trying to put it in a sentence, and then especially when you're texting, it's like, oh my god, I just wish I could just take this out and send that ball, and people will receive it and understand what I mean.
Exactly. So really, I think we happen because that was the only communication between people. In order for you and I to communicate, we either have to talk or text or I don't know what else, or write a blog and send me the link. It has been just heavily. I mean, it is probably the only way to communicate thinking and thoughts. So it's really interesting to see how meditation sort of opens up different way of thinking process. So it's really new to me as well, like a new concept that I'm realizing and learning too. So I'm looking forward to sort of explore this part of meditation more. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a very sort of novice student in this space as well. So
No, it's I don't think you can always get it. You know, there's no masters of meditation. Maybe with the Buddhist monks, but every day, one day it could be struggling, another day you just get this insight.
yeah.
So it's it's always a practice. So you mentioned that you had to leave San Francisco. I think I would want to hear exactly like what were the steps as to what were you doing first of all? What stage of your company that you had in San Francisco were you? And then what happened that forced you to move somewhere?
So so I was in San Francisco first. So what happened? I left my job at Deloitte, and then I came to San Francisco. Back then, I didn't know that many people. Obviously, I knew a handful of seed, group of people. And the great thing about San Francisco, as we all know, is that people are so open to. People are up for a lot of different things all the time, and then they're so up for sort of opening up the doors for other people because they share sort of like this passion and want to do stuff, and they understand, they just get it. So meeting people, introducing, all of that. So it was really great. And then I eventually, because I did have consulting experience, and then I had work experience in both California and South Korea, I kind of like figured maybe they can use it. So I worked as a consultant with a few tech companies, and then that sort of gave me an idea of, all these companies are struggling with recruiting as well, like university recruiting. So all that kind of came together, and I started Tackl in San Francisco. So I was into my second year, and then we got into 500 startups, and then it was exciting moment. Got first seed funding. I had a small team, so we started talking to more universities, and had quite a few employers, and kind of 20K university students at that time. So it was we're kind of like in the way that we're seeing something, we're still figuring things out, but we're like on our way to like making something exciting happen. And then when those good things happen, just like any American movie, like something has to happen. So
Yeah, some trauma.
Trauma has to happen. It's like a movie, American movie. So my visa sort of like extension didn't happen. Like it was refused. There are probably many reasons, but unfortunately, it wasn't really foreseen kind of case. A lot of people are like, it's not like one of those complicated case or anything. You had good visa on your back, and like already things are together. But then that happened, so it was super devastating time. I already built up quite a bit of good like base there, so it was really really tough times. But I can't overstay, so I had to leave. And then really, initially I was trying to figure out the way back ASAP because I was very devastated. And when you're devastated, you're not necessarily making smart choices or trying to think long term, because you're like, this is what you see.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then so yeah, eventually I figured it's probably not a good idea to rush into all of that to mess up even more. Like if I had to like apply that again to overturn, then it probably only gonna hurt for potentially next time.
Yeah.
So I sort of like had to stop it for a while. So in order to go through the visa process, I was actually back in Seoul at my mom's place, and she saw me going through this like a deep, devastating sort of semi-depression, not depression, I wouldn't say that I was devastated, but I wasn't like, I was very sad. And then my mom saw me going through all of that, and she's not one of those typical motherly moms. She's very energetic, kind of fun to hang out with, very kind of, she's very straightforward too. And then she saw me like being very devastated and doing all those things, and she was like, literally leave my house and go somewhere, and you can probably see your problem from a different angle, or you might find different opportunities, or you might open up your view, at least just to leave my house. So she told me to leave, so I was just like, where am I going? And then I got in touch with one of my really good friends in London. And then she was newly married back then. It was like getting into a year or so. Nice enough to offer me her couch. Both her husband and herself offer me their couch for like a few weeks. So yeah, that's how I started coming to London, just to see, because also we were getting random traction from the UK, so I wanted to see what was happening. And then coming here, realizing that there is a good visa option for founders, and also for university recruiting space, it's one of the best places for higher education. So quite a few things made sense to me, so I wanted to try out here.
That's incredible how your mom just kicked you out, and then you literally knew somebody, and you just took that chance. I think that takes incredible courage.
Yeah, it's also it was. I'm really grateful that she's still one of my closest friends, and in London, because all of us are kind of like old nomads. We if there is any problem, I'll probably call her, or if she has any trouble. I mean, she has her husband and their family too, but if they don't happen to be available, then she'll probably call me. It's good to have someone who gets it, who gets your what you're going through. Who the friend who's on different track, because we're in different industry or whatnot, but we're in life with the same type of intensity.
Yeah.
So she knows how hard it feels, and falling doesn't mean I'm never gonna get up and might need help. So she offered help, like literally just come here, like just come and see what happens. Like having that kind of friend is also it's very much of my luck too. I'm very lucky to have people.
Absolutely. I think it's not even just that she was the one offering help. It's also listening to these signals, because often we're so devastated, and as you're saying, we're just kind of like wallowing in the sadness, and like we can't see anything beyond what happened, and then somebody tells us, get up, let's do something, and all you can do is just say, no, I don't have energy. And but it's this impulse that you think you might want to do it. It's just standing up to this possibility, I guess, and actually taking the chance.
So it was really, it was really great. So we recently, we were talking, actually last month already. So I actually went to visit Prime Minister's office. So
what?
I know. they do this, because UK, they're trying really hard to boost tech economy, tech industry. So they have this like thing called London Tech Week. So for 1 week, it's like they're more dedicated to like bringing different people or conferences from around the world and have this like a more dedicated week for tech industry. So there are a bunch of events and whatnot. And apparently the Prime Minister office hosts this tech sector reception every year around during Tech Week. So I was very honored to be there. It was kind of like crazy. So me and my friend were talking, and she was just like, yeah, it probably all like meant to be. And like if you didn't come back then, like it wouldn't have happened, this wouldn't happen, all of that.
That's insane. Wait, so how did you get in? I mean, was there a selective process, or
the process is pretty funny. So back in San Francisco years ago, when I just had this idea of my previous startup and trying to see what's up, what people are up to. There was this period when I was just like always, at some sort of networking event in the evening, like all the time, trying to connect and meet people. And then I stumbled upon this UK government's event. Like it's a UK government department called Department of International Trade, which I'm sort of like related at the moment, like right now. So they hosted an event. Their goal was to basically poach some tech talent into UK economy eventually. They even had a San Francisco event, which I didn't get back then. I'm like, people probably, if they already made it in San Francisco, I don't think they want to leave to anywhere if they're in tech. But anyways, one of my really close friends in San Francisco, she was from the UK, and then we were supposed to meet up. And then I know about this event, so I'm like, why don't we just go? And then there, I met this lady who's Canadian, married to British husband, but then now she works for this organization. Because, we both went to Canadian university, we clicked, kind of like, we should catch up, all of that. So we were sort of in touch, not really close touch, but sort of, once in a while, Christmas, Happy New Year, or whatever. And then a few years later, when this thing happened, like I had to move to the UK, she was one of the first people that I reached out. Hey, do you remember me? And I think UK is my next option. Like, do you have any suggestion, whatnot? So she actually put me in this government program called Global Entrepreneur Program under Department of International Trade that she was a part of, that I attended the event of in San Francisco. So that event, sort of, I've been, part of that event. They try different things. And then eventually when this UK Tech Week happened, Prime Minister's office sent out to different departments, hey, do you have any like potential attendees? And then, they probably send out quite a few candidates. And I guess I tick political tick boxes, all of them. Basically, I'm a woman, immigrant, works in this higher education and job kind of sector. So I pretty much hit all the political tick boxes. So it was a great event. There are seasoned VCs and larger tech companies and some small companies like small company founders like myself were there. But it was absolutely honored to be there in the garden of Prime Minister's house and seeing Theresa May in person.
Oh my God.
It was a great honor. And
that is incredible.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then it was especially more meaningful for me because, how crazy, like I almost scared you with my feminism last time we chatted. But, having that very strong, like, female leader of the country, leading this event, and I could totally see how they put more emphasis and effort on bringing more women, trying to balance the scene.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an incredible and very inspiring sort of event for me to seeing the country's leader being female and how she can impact this kind of influence too. So
Absolutely, it always comes from the top,
yeah,
right? You have to start from the leadership.
so
If you
that's why we gotta pull more women to the top for sure.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a woman, an Asian woman in tech.
Oh yeah.
Remember, we can go to any of these events, and a lot of people take advantage of it. But for sure, for you, like you're an incredible woman. Your story is absolutely amazing, and just hearing all this, one question comes like, you've learned a lot, and you've retrospected a lot as well. Now, if you actually retrospect one more time, and if you had a chance to talk to your younger self, what would you tell her, and what kind of lessons would you specifically want to reiterate, and something that you've learned from all of these failures, and something you would want to share either with your kids or your younger self?
Mm. So yeah, I haven't really thought about having kids, so I'll go with my younger self.
Okay, that works too.
So,
Maybe one day we'll have a time machine.
so one of the first things would be really kind of like start meditating earlier, like younger, because it really gives opportunity to explore myself within and my thoughts, my mind. I've been just like so curious and busy with like what's out there, what's going on, like what's up and what's out, basically, and didn't have. I don't feel like I did. Maybe it's normal for like teenagers or early 20s, whatnot. But yeah, I think it would have been even better. I'm grateful for what I've gone through and what I had, like the opportunities that I had, but it would have been even better to have like much deeper understanding of my own mind and myself. Would have been like would have given me even richer and sort of like maybe even deeper understanding or experience from each event or each person that I encounter and all of that. Also, like appreciate people all the time. Now I need to get back on track with it. Like of course I like people. I really, like I try to see like, if there are ways that we can really click, and I try to find things that I can learn from. Appreciating people and treating them like they're gonna last forever, like lifelong friends. Because nowadays it's hard to get rid of people. Almost like you're just so connected that it's almost impossible. It's almost like, oh, my dog ate my homework, kind of like. It just doesn't make sense. Like, oh, I lost contact, unless you purposely like not talking. Then so appreciate people a lot, and also like not really like it's gonna be it's just failure is gonna happen, and it's just part of our life. So not to be afraid, because like these Asians, man, like growing up in Asia, it's not easy to have that concept, because if you fail, you get hit. Like it's not okay ever, but it's actually okay, making the best of it, trying to learn and grow from it, because every fall gives you an opportunity to get up again. So I think being okay with failure, to my like younger self would be another tip that I want to give.
Yeah, I love it. I love all of these. And especially when you said that it's hard to get rid of people these days. That's very true. We're all connected with social media and internet. It's really hard to lose track of someone. I mean, we're all in each other's face. And so...
Yeah. And they're babies too.
especially their babies. And you're right. I mean, understanding, appreciating each of them and treating them as someone who will stay there, they will stay there.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, it's very important, and I think I need to learn how to appreciate people in my life a little more as well. Yeah, I love this all. Thank you so much for all of this sharing, and this was very insightful and inspiring, and I'm sure it will move a lot of people. And with your story and someone who is maybe going through something similar or is on a similar path to dealing with anything that you've talked about. I appreciate your time, and yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it was great sharing my story, and I hope it was helpful, or at least, you know, interesting. And I'm also on the path. I think the path is, you know, it's going to be constant progress. So I'm looking forward to what I'm going to learn, people that I'm going to encounter on the way, and probably like some more failures on my way, because I know now that it's hard, but I'm going to make the most of it, learn from it. So yeah, I hope this helps. And then, yeah, I'll stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you liked it. Please give me thumbs up, subscribe, and check out my blog at maria.blog.